Oh, hey Aquamigos. I didn't see you guys over there. How are you guys doing today? Now I realize sometimes it might sound like I'm an expert when it comes to fish. An Albert Einstein of aquatics, if you will. But in reality, I'm still an amateur, and I recently did something quite foolish. And all jokes aside, guys, I did something pretty dumb recently. I crashed the cycle of my guppy tank. I'm not kidding. I did. I really crashed the cycle of my guppy tank. And a lot of you guys might be wondering, but Tobias, how did you manage to do that? And it's actually really simple, and I basically over-cleaned my tank. And in case you're not sure what a crash cycle means, it pretty much means that I accidentally killed a substantial amount of the beneficial bacteria in my fish tank that converts ammonia from fish waste and dead plant matter into nitrites and then nitrites into nitrates, which ultimately caused an ammonia spike in my tank. And guys, just real quick, don't forget to destroy that like button, annihilate that subscribe button, and eradicate that bell notifications button. Now check this out. This is my guppy tank. In a few videos now, I've been talking about how I've been battling with some pretty high nitrate levels in this tank right here. So I was doing a lot of water changes. I was vacuuming the bottom of the tank. At one point, I even took out the 2 decorations that I have in there so I could vacuum underneath them. I cleaned out the filter media in tank water, everything. After about 4 days in a row of doing about 35% water changes, I started noticing that my nitrate levels were starting to come down to around 40 parts per million, which is a lot better than what it was. So I skipped a day and then did another water change. Then I skipped another day and then I did another water change. And that's when I noticed my tank water was starting to turn cloudy. And I checked my ammonia levels, and sure enough, I had an ammonia spike. And after doing some research, I came to the conclusion that I had crashed the cycle of my tank. So there were a few ways I figured I could tackle the problem. The first thing was I could add API Quick Start to help jumpstart the cycle of this tank. Second, I could add API Ammo Lock to detoxify the ammonia in the tank. And third, it had occurred to me that this tank was overstocked because the guppies have been breeding like crazy, and I ultimately had too many fish in this tank. And that's actually the root of this entire problem. This is why stocking your tank accordingly is very important. So I figured I could add a handful of guppies from this tank right here to my pond to help reduce the bioload of this tank right here. Since we're in the summer, I figured the guppies would do quite well in the pond since the water is warmer this time of the year. And I'll most likely have until around September to figure out what to do with them. Here's some footage from yesterday of me picking out some guppies from this tank to put in the pond. I tried to pick mostly males because I had too many males in this tank harassing the females. I then drip acclimated them to the pond by using a piece of air tubing to create a siphon and then tying a knot in the air tubing to reduce the flow. After about 25 minutes, I released the guppies into the pond, and I think they look really cool in there. Today, I want to go up and check on the guppies in the pond to make sure that they're doing okay, because I might need to consider putting some more guppies in there. Alright guys, let's see how these guppies are doing. Let's see how they're doing. Alright guys, so right off the bat, I could see most of them. We got one right over here. Right past those water lilies. And then we have a couple more back there. I'll try to get a better look at them. We got one over here too. Got a little guppy right there. Oh, another two right here. Those are both guppies. Over here's where we have a bunch of them. We could really see a lot of baby goldfish right now. Tons of them. Especially right there. But yeah, so far guys, it seems like they're doing fine. It looks like they're doing fine commingling with the other fish. And I think they'll do really well out here during the summer. So I have a thermometer somewhere in here. I have no idea where it is. It's probably under that box, but I can't seem to see it. My guess, just from touching the water, is that like it's gotta be like around 70 degrees. It's quite warm. So I think it'll be like a great environment for these guppies, because they are technically tropical fish. And if my ammonia levels in my guppy tank don't start to come down, I might have to start thinking about putting more of those guppies in the pond, just to make sure I don't lose any. Alright guys, so here's the results of my water test kit. My ammonia levels are easily 8 parts per million, which is extremely high and extremely dangerous. My nitrites are at 5 ppm it looks like. Yesterday my nitrites were at 0. And then my nitrates, it looks like they are, I want to say around 40, between 40 and 80 parts per million. And then I'm still waiting for my pH. I have to wait like 5 minutes because I just did that like a second ago. But they vary drastically from what they were yesterday. What I'm guessing happened is when I had my ammonia spike, you know, there's just all this built up ammonia and there's no bacteria turning it into nitrite. Now the bacteria is turning it into nitrite and not so much is being turned into nitrate yet. And this is all ultimately because I overstocked the tank. Not intentionally, the guppies bred and I just didn't think about it. But that's why it's important to pay attention to your stocking and if your fish are breeding. Alright guys, so it's been 5 minutes. It looks like my pH dropped a lot. My pH is about a 6.0, I would say. Usually my pH is all the way up here at like 7.6. Or maybe even like a little bit darker. It might even be higher than that usually. So since the guppies in the pond seemed like they were doing pretty good, what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna go ahead and put a bunch of these guppies in the pond. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now because at least I know that'll be a safer environment. Alright guys, so it's been about 30 minutes. This thing's almost all the way full, so I think they're ready to go in the pond now. I got some food over there to distract the rest of the fish while I'm doing this so they're not like all swarming the area. And yeah, let's go ahead and do this. Alright guys, so we'll come back out here in a couple hours to check up on them when they're a little more comfortable. And also, so it's not so hot for me out here. So some of you might be wondering why I don't take some biological media from the filter in my pond and put it in this guppy tank right here. And the reason is that if I do that, I'm gonna end up with a bunch of snails in this tank, and I don't really want to have to deal with that. I would rather just completely start the cycle over again. I feel like I got the stocking to a much more manageable level now in this tank since I took so many of the guppies out, that hopefully there might even be enough beneficial bacteria to take care of just the fish that are in here. Especially after I do a water change right now and get some of that ammonia and nitrites out of the tank. But I will not be touching any of the surfaces in the tank for a while or the media in the filter. I'm just gonna leave all that alone and only change out the water, you know, because beneficial bacteria does not live in the water column. So it should be completely fine to, you know, change out the water. And I do have another goldfish over here in a tank, but I don't want to take any filter media out of that tank either because that fish was sick. And although I do feel like it's getting better, I just don't want to risk transferring any traces of any disease into the guppy tank. Because if the immune systems of these fish are compromised from those ammonia and nitrite levels, I don't want to introduce any sort of, you know, disease or anything like that to this tank. So I feel like it is worth mentioning that I did add that API ammo lock to the tank, and even although my ammonia levels look really high, a lot of that ammonia might not be toxic to my fish. The reason for this is that there are two types of ammonia. There's the ionized ammonia, which is NH4, and that is significantly less toxic than the unionized ammonia, NH3. When you add ammo lock to aquarium water, you'll still see an ammonia reading on your test kit. That's because the ammonia test kit tests for both NH4 and NH3. So although my ammonia readings came out super high, it might not be as toxic as you might think. And there is a way to calculate the toxicity of the ionized ammonia, but I honestly don't really know how to do it, but it involves knowing your temperature of your tank and your pH level. And with those things, you can kind of calculate what the toxicity is of your ionized ammonia. But ideally, your ammonia levels should be 0 because there shouldn't be any ammonia in your tank. And another thing that I see thrown around on YouTube is that aquarium plants will suck up ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates. And that is true, but not so much with the aquarium plants that I have. My aquarium plants are Java Fern and Anubias, and those are slow growing plants, so they're not really sucking up much nutrients at all. Also, I don't have a CO2 system, I don't have a light system. Most of the light that those plants are getting is indirect sunlight from the window, and they're probably just not in the best shape. And decaying plant matter can actually add more ammonia to your tank, so you gotta be really careful with plants. But yeah, in theory, aquarium plants will suck up nutrients from your tank during the assimilation process and convert them to organic molecules, such as DNA and amino acids. But to make an impact on your tank, you know, your plants are going to have to be in tip-top shape and they're going to have sufficient CO2. That's why a lot of planted tanks have CO2 systems attached, because plants need CO2 for the photosynthesis process. Although I don't have personal experience with these plants, Amazon swords and hornwort are two examples of fast-growing aquarium plants that I feel like would have a greater impact on removing nutrients from your tank. So anyways guys, let's just go ahead and take one last look at the guppies, make sure that they're doing alright. Alright guys, so it looks like most of the guppies are hanging out over here. We got a bunch of the fry over here, or younger guppies. And then as well as over here by the heron decoy. Oh, there we got a guy right there. So they definitely seem to like to hang out over here. Probably because they don't get disturbed so much on this side, but when I'm up here, all the goldfish want to come to that side. But it's good to see that they're doing well. So guys, I think that's gonna be just about it for this video. Don't forget to check out my giveaway. You have until July 15th to enter my giveaway. Go ahead and check out that video. I'm gonna have a link down in the description of this video so that you can enter that. And I just remembered guys, I have two shout outs for this video. One for Green Slushy Box. Thank you so much for becoming an Aquamigo and for the support. And another shout out to the Animal Papa. And if any of you guys would like a shout out in my next video, all you have to do is go to the comments below and comment I am an Aquamigo, and I will shout you out in my next fish video. And of course guys, if you guys like this video, make sure to destroy that like button, annihilate that subscribe button, and eradicate that bell notifications button, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Peace.